Oh, wait. Let me get faces up there. And 1. Yeah. No, we fixed it. We fixed it. Yeah, yeah. We'll have 2 consecutive first round picks. What are you talking about, Wally? That's hmm. Hmm. Oh, you know what? No. Oh, you are 100% correct.
Okay. So
Yeah,
they be
yeah.
able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Is that
They
fixed?
yeah. Mhm.
Can you hear me now, Fatty? I hope you can hear me now, because otherwise I don't know what to do.
No,
I've
I
got
fixed
to.
it. I fixed it.
You fixed it? Okay. So, welcome to the Week 3 Waiver Wire Show. As I was saying, football is officially over and dead because I hate everything. And what was it? So, I want to. I'm going to start with bitching about the Bears before we start getting into your waiver wire moves, because I had someone try telling me that like every offense has bad plays, and I don't think, because I watch every game like beginning to end. I do the cut ups. I'll do the all 22 for some of them. I can't do the all 22 for the Bears because um it's every offensive play. Like you look at it and everyone's talking about it. Like it's already becoming a meme making fun of the Bears offense, which is a problem. Justin Fields, 2 designed runs in 2 games this season. When last season you realized if he started doing design runs, it's like they're trying to. I said it. My biggest fear was not. You will never convince me Justin Fields is not good. What I will say is that the Bears might ruin Justin Fields, and by God, they're trying to do it. Like the best quarterback prospect in my life that the Bears have had, and they are destroying him. They're like, you know what? Like you do all these things well. Why don't you do other things instead? Fuck you, Chicago Bears. All right, let's get to the waiver wire show. Josh, talk to me about your teams.
Oh boy. So in my let's start with the bad first, and then we'll go to the good. I won this. I lost this week in my family league of record, which is the only one I care about because they give me so much shit for just doing standard fantasy stuff. But that's neither here nor there. So I lost 97 to 114 to a team called the 49 IRs that had Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Cup, and now Nick Chubb on the roster. So I really feel for that owner, especially because
Yeah,
because
that
I
name is prophetic at this point.
especially because I lost to them. I'm now ahead of them in waivers, so they're not getting forward if I can
Well,
help
it
it.
depends. It depends. Let's see who's on your waiver wire, because he is not my number one running back. I had a couple things that I thought were amazing this week. We're going to start with quarterbacks because the quarterback list is very easy. There's only one quarterback you need to be worried about on your waiver wire. Honestly, most of the quarterbacks, if you drafted them, you should probably be holding on to because they've been fine. There hasn't been any real movement except for Jordan Love. Last week, he was my number one waiver wire pickup at quarterback. Uh, and this week, QB2. Like, he's still, I don't know if he was a QB2. I think he was like the QB 6 or 7. He was QB 10. All I know is he's had 2 QB1 finishes. He's had 3 touchdowns in both of his games. And he's playing the NFC South and the NFC North, so he's going to have a favorable schedule throughout the season. If you need quarterback help, get Jordan Love.
Well, I'm a Joe
Because this is
Burrow owner in one of my leagues, so I will definitely be scooping.
is he is he gonna not play? Because I know they said he was limping and he was a little bit hurt. because I watched the Baltimore Cincy game, and I know people are panicking on the Bengals. They looked fine. Like it wasn't what you want it to be. It wasn't the exciting, explosive thing. I think our expectations got high, but they played decent football. It was fine. It wasn't the best game I've ever seen, but it wasn't the worst either.
What I'm waiting for you to make fun of me for is picking Jamar Chase over Bijan Robinson in that 4th round pick.
I don't need to speak it. I told you would regret it. In a standard league, my man Josh decided to go 0 RB. Having said that, if you look at his team, it was actually a really savvy strategy. And Jamar Chase's one, he was one because I bet for the gambling show, I had him as a guy who was going to hit his receiving over. Turns out I needed Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins to get that. But if you watch that game, it was just one of those things. Same with my Travis Kelce over. Like, these were guys I thought were going to have good games. You look at the stat line, you're like, what the hell happened? But if you look in-game, there were a ton of penalties on passes that went to him that got called back, just like bad throws. Like, those little things that happen in games that sometimes, like, you can see they were a part of the offensive game plan. It just didn't quite work out. So I'm not panicking in Jamar Chase, and I might double down on him next week because Jamar Chase is going to get his, and you're going to feel real good about it with the running backs you did end up getting.
I do have every other meaningful running back of 2023. So
and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Okay. We want to talk about meaningful running backs. Like, Jerome Ford feels like he should be the number 1 running back that you pick. To me, there are 3 guys, and it's a pick your poison. But there is one thing I will say. I have a rule when I write my waiver wire article. I should be posting any minute now. But I don't talk about guys who are less than 50% roster. I have made an exception this week because across fantasy football leagues, Kyren Williams is 53% roster. After his week 1, that should not have happened. The fact that he is the RB2 on the season, he is the 2nd best fantasy football running back. And Kyren Williams, there's a 50% chance he's available in one of your leagues. You can't not take that. This week, Williams had 100 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns against the 49ers defense. Like, at this point, Kyren Williams might just be a running back you have to start regularly.
Waleed,
until proven otherwise.
To make you feel better, I have Kyren Williams already. I also have Mostert. I also have Moss.
Ooh.
So just let you know that I'm listening to you. Just you know.
Zach Moss, like, we keep arguing about it, like, and you're saying, but he's gonna get volume, and I'm like, yeah, but he sucks. Like, I don't care about Zach Moss at all, but at the same time, he's literally the only running back on the Colts that's left.
I don't want anybody else to have Zach Moss though, so he'll sit on my, you know.
I can dig it. So, speaking of that, I'm gonna flip over to the cut list that Jeff Crisco does.
Josh
obviously, Cam Akers, rostered in 91% of leagues, healthy scratch because Kyren Williams is the dude. We all thought that Cam Akers was the only option the Rams would have. Like, we all kind of liked Cam Akers preseason, but no one really liked him. We just thought the opportunity might be there. And after week 1, it was pretty. I think Cam Akers was cut last week, honestly, and he's a cut now. And I'm done with Cam Akers.
So are the Rams, because they're trying to trade him. That's why he was a healthy scratch.
They were trying to get rid of him last year, too.
Yeah.
It's like, this should not surprise us that it's happening.
They were probably trying to do it all offseason. They probably just couldn't find a buyer.
Nor, why would you, too? Because Cam Akers, he sucks. He's just a dude.
Cam Akers to the Cleveland Browns.
Honestly, Jerome Ford is better than him. Why would you care? They already traded for Pierre Strong.
That's... Yeah, Jerome Ford didn't look bad either.
No, he's decent. He's a guy that I think is going to be real interesting. But he's still not my next running back. Now, this one's more of a coin flip for me. And I don't know. It kind of depends on which team you like better overall. And and week 2 kind of proved to me, I think that Cleveland is going to implode this year. Yeah, they won big in week 1 in really bad weather. But week 2, they lost to a Steelers team that just doesn't look that good.
Right. They didn't have any running. They didn't have any running game, and they lost.
Yeah, but here's the interesting thing too. But the running back I'm talking about here on the Steelers, Jalen Warren only rostered in 38% of leagues. And the big thing, Football Absurdity has we've been really big on Najee Harris this year because of the bell cow usage that he should be getting. Because Mike Tomlin historically has more running backs like in a per game basis have 20 plus touches per game. This is the first year where through 2 games in the season, it's a 50-50 split. And Jalen Warren's getting those looks, and Jalen Warren's looking better. Yeah, the rushing game was not that good for the Steelers this week, but Jalen Warren on 10 touches had 86 all-purpose yards. His defensive matchups are probably going to get softer, and he's the guy who I could see him squeezing Najee Harris out because, like right now, Jalen Warren looks like the better back. There's no getting around it.
Right.
So he's my number 2 guy, but he's more like a 2A, and 2B is Jerome Ford. Obviously, on the cut list, the first guy that was listed was Nick Chubb. He's done for the year. I hate that because Nick Chubb is like the only player on the Cleveland Browns that I had any interest in paying attention to. He's one of the best running backs in football. He's the best pure runner in the NFL. Just such a good running back. Seemed like a nice guy.
He's the closest thing in the NFL that I'll have to a namesake, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Nick Chubb is now off, so...
Yeah.
He's off the 2023 roster. He's going to be out for the year, and his leg was broken so badly. Tony Martin from Going to Gambletown podcast that we have on Saturdays, he told me, don't watch the replay, because I didn't get a chance to watch the game and would end up watching that later today. It was that bad. I hope Nick Chubb comes back and is as good as ever, because football is better with Nick Chubb in it. So my thoughts
if Aaron Rodgers can come back from an Achilles in a year, Nick Chubb can come back next season and hopefully be the monster that he's been the last I don't know how many years. So
yep. So with Nick Chubb out, Jerome Ford is the clear lead back, and in week 2 after that injury, he had 16 carries for 106 yards, 3 catches for 25 yards, and a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. Like, Cleveland's offensive scheme is centered around their running back. So if you decide that you want Ford over Jalen Warren, I get it. I can't fault it. I think both teams are centered around their running back, and Ford might have a clearer path to relevance. That's one of those where you just get your guy, but all of those options are good. There are good running back options. The big thing is make sure you get one of them. And if you're looking for guys that you can cut, there's quite a few of them. So Jeff, on the cut list article, he talks about Dameon Pierce as a guy that you can cut, and I'm not 100% sure I agree with it.
I'm still on the bubble
it.
too. Yeah.
This is, and he even says it only for the shallowest of leagues. But Pierce is losing snaps to running backs. At the beginning of the season, they lost 2 guys to IR, and frankly, C.J. Stroud is slinging it. Like, C.J. Stroud looks really good. I'd look like Nico Collins. Like, he didn't make the cut for the waiver wire. But he's a guy that, like, he's available in, like, 35% of leagues.
And there's there's someone on when we get to wide receivers that we're probably going to be talking about as well.
Yeah, but Nico Collins, if he's available on your waiver wire at wide receiver, that's the guy that I want shares of. Like, he's 65% rostered, so it doesn't make my waiver wire article. But, man, that C.J. Stroud-Nico Collins connection looked real good. Joshua Kelly, I'm not 100% sure. He had a big week 1. He had a bad week 2. But the problem I have with cutting Joshua Kelly after week 2 is he also had a terrible matchup. Like,
sure.
he went up against one of the better run defenses in football. And, I'm not going to get mad at a guy who's kind of just a guy. That performance was kind of to be expected. Even though he was the lead back, I don't know that Eckler was going to do that much better. That was a team that you were just going to throw the ball down the field. The Titans' run defense is one of the best in football. Their pass defense is one of the worst. So the game script was throw it down the field. Hey, if you had Keenan Allen shares, if you had Mike Williams shares, if you had Justin Herbert shares, you were fine with the Chargers.
Sure.
The fact that they lost to the Titans is kind of that is not a good thing. Antonio Gibson, honestly, people rostered Antonio Gibson. Washington's coaching staff has hated him for years. I didn't even draft him. I don't get it. I disagree with Jeff on Zach Charbonnet, cutting him. And the reason is if you drafted Zach Charbonnet, you did not draft him for the beginning of the season. He is a second half of the season guy. If you draft rookies with that set in mind, you shouldn't be looking to cut him after a couple of weeks. Some guys are going to come along slower than others. I know his snap share isn't as good, but it's going to get there. Jerick McKinnon, he's the guy I've been cutting pretty much everywhere. Football Absurdity Discord was very high on Jerick McKinnon this season, but 2 weeks in, his snap count is 30% on the field. And the fact is, Isaiah Pacheco was not getting those receiving looks last year. He's getting them now. And the fact that Pacheco is the lead back, that diminishes McKinnon's value. Mm-hmm. I don't see it coming back. But here's the thing. If McKinnon does start showing relevance, you'll be able to get him. No one's trying to get Jerick McKinnon. You can cut him for someone who's going to be better. That covers the running backs here. That covers the cut running backs. So I want to talk about, because there are a lot of running backs. There's my top three that's very clear for running backs. And then there's the rest, because we got injuries to J.K. Dobbins, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Jamal Williams. A lot of running backs got hurt. Obviously, Taylor and Dobbins were hurt a little bit earlier. But because of that, there's also a lot of random guys that are also still available. You got Tony Jones and Kendre Miller on the Saints. To me, they're both just guys. If you're looking for rookie upside, Kendre Miller seems fine. Tony Jones did have 2 touchdowns, though, so he could be a guy that's interesting. But at the same time, Alvin Kamara is coming back. I avoided the Saints' backfield because there's so many guys there. I don't know who's going to be good, and I don't think that offense is going to be good enough that I would care. But if you feel differently, go for it. Zach Moss is the only running back on the Colts.
What a hilarious storm in the Saints' backfield to make Alvin Kamara even the least bit relevant when he returns.
He was always going to be relevant, but I think his ceiling is a little bit capped. I don't know. I just don't feel like it's going to happen in that offense. I can't get excited about the Saints. Sorry, Jams, if you watch this. Zach Moss is pretty much the only running back worth a damn on the Colts, not named Anthony Richardson, because their running plays were designed for him. But when Richardson went under concussion protocol, you saw Zach Moss started doing a lot better with Gardner Minshew in there. They started using him a lot, and Moss was doing all right. But then again, the Houston Texans' run defense also kind of bad. I don't know. He's a guy. If you like him, if you think he's going to get usage, go ahead there. Matt Breida, Saquon Barkley's backup. He's going to be relevant for a few weeks. The problem is he's still Matt Breida. And Matt Breida not very good. For the Baltimore Ravens, you got Justice Hill and Gus Edwards, both available in a lot of leagues. And honestly, Baltimore Ravens, which running back you think is going to be relevant? They're both going to be in a timeshare. And I think that offense is going to be focused on the pass anyway, so they're not guys I care about. If I have a spot, I'll pick up one of them, because a high-scoring offense, you want a running back. They could sneak in a couple touchdowns and win you a week. There's always flex value on high-scoring offenses, which I think the Ravens will become more and more as the season goes on and they become comfortable with Monken's system. Mm-hmm. And that kind of covers the running backs. Now let's hit the wide receivers. Wide receivers is kind of interesting. I'm with Jeff. Brandon Cooks is probably cuttable because he's got an MCL sprain. You got Rashad Bateman. He's played 2 games, but he's not really doing much right now. But I think the top 2 guys in Baltimore are very clearly Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers. Rashad Bateman might have games, but he's probably not going to be 100% reliable. And there are better options you can get that will have higher floors with very similar ceilings. Zay Jones, I think I disagree with on Jeff, but I don't know. It's a tough one because week 1, he had 5 catches for 55 yards and 1 touchdown on 7 targets. And Jeff says he was a complete non-factor. He did have 6 targets, and they were trying to get him in the game, but that was a Christian Kirk game. I think the problem with Zay Flowers isn't that he's going to be bad. It's that...
Zay Jones, you mean?
Oh, yeah, Zay Jones. No, there's no problems with Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers was one of my rookie loves. I was all in on him. Remember that. Don't remember the things I got wrong. No, but he was 0 for 6 on his targets. But I'm gonna say something here, and I don't know if people believe it. Chiefs pass defense, low key, really, really good. They held Trevor Lawrence to under 10 points. That Jacksonville offense didn't score. Mm-hmm. I don't think of Chiefs as a good defensive team. But 2 weeks into the season, I look at their defense. I'm like, this isn't bad. It's not like they're not Dallas. They're not the Jets, but they're kind of solid. And I'll tell you right now, spoiler alert, week 3 they play the Chicago Bears. That should be your favorite streaming defensive option. Yeah, every year I find a team that I'm like, oh, this is a team I want defensive streaming against, and it breaks my heart that it is my team that is going to be that team. But I'm playing every defense because if you started Tampa Bay's defense last week, which was one of my recommendations, you did really well. Like I even said it, if you think the Packers were good, go with the Packers. If you think the Bears are bad, if we're just bad, go with the Bucks for a streaming option. If you went with the Bucks, you got a top 5 fantasy defense last week, and oh god, and it hurts so badly.
Yeah, the least the Bears can do is give us insider information on how bad they are, so that we can pick accordingly in our fantasy teams. You know?
Yeah, and I want to point out, Jeff. I think you're not going to want to hear this, Josh. The last cut guy, Romeo Doubs on the Packers.
I agree. Jalen Reed is eating his lunch.
I think Jalen Reed and Jaden Reed was really
good. Yeah.
He looked really good, and I think it's going to be his time to potentially show. Even though, like, I went back and forth on putting Jaden Reed into the waiver wire article, and I didn't put him there because I don't think he's going to necessarily be a guy who's relevant once Christian Watson and Aaron Jones come back. But even though I didn't talk about Jaden Reed, if he's a guy you like, he's got that rookie potential, and he looks the part. So if you're looking for wide receivers to add, that's cool. But the wide receiver I kind of like the most right now, and I feel weird saying it, Tutu Atwell of the Rams. Like, now the problem with Tutu Atwell is he also has some short-term viability, but through 2 weeks he's got 17 targets.
I feel like he's going to be the one in LA that gets squeezed out by Cooper Kupp returning.
Like, you can't get Puka, and Puka was the right choice in week 1 if you needed a wide receiver. If you got Puka, I think you got to feel really good. 20 targets in week 2.
Even if that halves when Cooper Kupp returns.
And it's going to, but it's not going to half by that much.
Yeah.
Because through 2 weeks, Tutu Atwell, 17 targets. That's good usage. Matt Stafford is dropping back and attempting passes at the second highest rate of any quarterback. He has
C.J. Stroud is beating him. Yeah, but
he's got the second most pass attempts. Stafford's throwing for more attempts.
Really?
Yeah. Pretty sure that's the case, but maybe I'm wrong. Okay, now you're making me have to look this up because I didn't think it was Stroud who was number 1, but if I'm being honest, I didn't look that closely. So let's look at the 2023 stats. Pass attempts. No, you know who's number 1? CJ Stroud is number 3. Number 1 in pass attempts, Mac Jones.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. I want to also point out something real quick here. The Eagles' pass defense might not be good. Like, I want you to consider for a second that in week 1, Mac Jones was a top 2 quarterback. In week 2, Kirk Cousins was a top 2 quarterback. I'm strongly considering, I don't know who's the quarterback. Oh, yeah. Baker Mayfield is
he loves to sling
in
it.
week 3. I'm strongly considering just throwing a dollar bet on that Tampa Bay Bucks money line because I don't think that Eagles team is as good as they were last year. I think you can see they look a lot more human.
Mike Evans is looking real hot for the next week.
I want Mike Evans so badly next week, so badly. And you know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna go in on Mike Evans, and it's gonna be fucking Godwin, and I'm never gonna get that guy right.
You know what I've been calling Evans all the season so far? The East Coast Tyler Lockett.
Oh yeah, you said that on the show, and that made us all laugh because that's such a great thing. Hey, but hey, West Coast Mike Evans and East Coast Tyler Lockett both had top 5 games after being kind of disappointing in week 1.
And he was sitting on my bench.
Well, actually, that's not true. Mike Evans had a good week 1. Yeah. One of my bets in the season at the beginning of the year, I got really good odds. Like, I got positive odds on Mike Evans having over 1,000 yards receiving. He's already 20% of the way there through 2 games. And, like, I thought that was such an obvious bet, because you know what Mike Evans does every year? Gets 1,000 yards.
Oh,
Like, as much as we want to pretend that we don't like him as much anymore, Mike Evans is a dude. Like, if you can get Mike Evans in your leagues, get him. But no one's trading him away, because if you drafted him, you knew that, and you're looking at him right now and you're saying, "Fucking told you, told you, and you should have known." So Tutu Atwell though, 17 targets in 2 games. In week 2, he had 9 targets, 7 catches, 77 yards. You know, it wasn't like it was flex worthy if you had him. You don't feel excited about it, but it wasn't a bad performance. Like, if he gets a touchdown in there, all of a sudden he's a mid-tier wide receiver too. For a guy in the waiver wire, that's fantastic. And he's gonna get those looks.
And as funny as it might sound, in week 2, I'm already kind of feeling it, where it's like the guys that we know were guys, like even coming out of week 1, like there's a huge drop off between like the tier that you want and the tier that you're forced to get.
Yeah, you know? Exactly.
Like,
look, it's like I say, if you do your draft perfectly, you were 50% right. That's how that's how fantasy football drafts work. You're hoping to get guys, and you will or you won't. But you can't act like everyone I drafted is going to somehow break out. You keep holding on, it's gonna burn you. You got to make those moves while you can. You got to look at, because the thing is, things do change from year to year a little bit. Usage matters. How guys are being used. And the fact is, Tutu Atwell being used. Cooper Kupp's going to get a lot of Puka's targets, but then Puka's just going to take Tutu's targets. And the guy who you're going to want to cut now, probably, Tyler Higbee. Because Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua both emerging, that caps like before Higbee was the number 2 receiver. That was the guy you wanted. He was the tutu. But now Higbee, he's a tight end, so you might still want to hold on to him. But it makes me nervous. But let's see, other wide receivers. So on the wide receivers, honestly, like I probably should have added Jaden Reed to this article because he is quite good.
Also,
and I like him just as much as some of these other rookies that I'm going to talk about.
Do you have Tank Dell on that list?
Oh, we'll get to that, but let's talk about Josh Reynolds first. 7% rostered in leagues. He had 5 catches for 66 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 2 against the Seahawks. Pick 2, Dotson, Kittle, Flowers, Moss, Ford, Godwin, Lockett. What am I picking him for, kids? Like, I'll happily tell you a pick.
Lockett.
Because,
and Flowers.
Lockett, I don't think there's ever a situation where I'm taking Lockett out of my lineups. George Kittle and like Zay Flowers are also guys that like I feel that way about. Dotson I love, but I need to see more from Sam Howell before I can do anything. Ford, I mean he might get like that's all matchup based. Are these guys that are on your waiver wire gets? Because all right, well it's too early to say like what I haven't looked at like what the matchups are, who these guys are playing yet. This is just your bench. I'm going to tell you right now. Good job on your bench, man. That's a good ass bench. I like that bench a lot.
Yeah.
Like Kittle's on your bench. Who are you starting at tight end? So I would say Josh Reynolds right now. He looks like he's the wide receiver too. Hawkinson and Kittle. Honestly, if you got Hawkinson, try to trade Kittle. Now he's had a couple of slow weeks, but he's gonna get his eventually. If you have Hawkinson, you don't need a backup tight end. Personally, like I don't worry about it. You can find a streamer guy. Yeah, right. Kane's calling it. That sounds like a 3-man. I was like, you're either in a really small league, or you're playing against people who are bad at fantasy football. 10-man. That sounds about right. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, 10-man, everybody feels like they're superhero after their draft. They're like, oh, I did it. And then it's like...
Dude, that's why I love, like, because I do, if you're in the fantasy football Discord, which you guys should be if you're not, I don't know if I don't recognize you, but if you know, I'm an auction guy. I do a bunch of the Yahoo Money public auction leagues, and I look, and people will be like, yeah, you're playing against kids. I'm like, these people paid money to do this. And if you look at some of my benches and my starting lineups, you're just like, these guys. I mean, if you can go up against the general public, you can make money in fantasy football. Is all I'm saying. So Josh Reynolds, right now he looks like he's the clear number 2 receiver in Detroit. Detroit's slinging it. That offense is going to be a top 10 offense. But the problem with Josh Reynolds for me is I worry that Jameson Williams, when he comes back from his suspension, is going to eat into his looks. And they both have the same role. They're both the deep threat guy. But I will say that
And I
Jared
think
Goff,
Jameson Williams is more of a guy than Josh Reynolds is.
he 100% is. Once we get to week 5, you'll see it in the waiver wire article where I'll tell you he's going to be available in a lot of your leagues. Grab him and stash him, because I personally I love you. If you've listened to me talk, you know I love me some Drake London. You know I love me some Chris Olave, and Jameson Williams was my number 1 wide receiver. My man, you got Bijan. Oh, that's a good team. That's a really good team. Is that an auction team? Because I don't even know how you could pull that off. Or is this a dynasty team? Like, that team is insane. I'm trying to do the math. Like, you get Bijan in the first round, but that's. So what do you do? Do you just get them really, really drunk and then give him draft sheets that are completely wrong? Because that team makes no sense. I do not think Zach Moss is gonna. Gabe Davis, do not trade high. I don't think Gabe Davis is one of my guys that I thought was gonna be really good this year. I gotta say it. Gabe Davis came out strong this week. He is the clear number 2 receiver on a top 5 scoring offense. I know Kincaid's getting his looks, but Gabe Davis had 90 targets last year. And everyone seemed to I don't know why everyone was sleeping on him, because they were so hyped for him in year 2 that they've just decided he couldn't get better in year 3. He already looks better this year on tape than he did last year. Last year he was a lot more inconsistent. He was also hurt second half of the season. You could not convince me to sell Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis feels like a guy that's going to be real good. Zach Moss, I think the problem with Zach Moss, if you listen to the TH Fantasy podcast that we host, if you looked at our breakdowns of teams for the season, Shane had a great breakdown of how running quarterbacks impact running backs. They cap their ceiling a lot because they're going to get a lot of those looks. So Zach Moss is a guy, if you have and you can sell him high, get what you can. Use him in another piece to upgrade a position somewhere else. I do not like Zach Moss long term. I will say if you need him, he's a guy I'll grab on the waiver wire because he has a floor. He's going to get usage, but he's not a guy that I feel like I need to hold on to. He's a piece that I will use to get somewhere better. So yeah, going back to Jameson Williams, I was saying that I think Jameson Williams was my favorite receiver in that draft class. And when he comes back, I think he's going to be that deep threat that Detroit needs. And but having said that, he's missed so much time and he missed so much of training camp. It might take him a while to come back. So Josh Reynolds could end up being that guy. That's why he's on my list for waiver wire wide receivers. But honestly, I'm taking my shot on rookies if I'm being honest. Jaden Reed's a guy I might take. But when Christian Watson comes back, I worry how that'll affect Jaden Reed's role.
I think it'll affect Romeo Dobbs' role more than
a lot more than it. Yeah, and I think that's a fair way of looking at it. But if you want to look, Marvin Mims. Well, let's talk about Marvin Mims, the wide receiver that Sean Payton. I would rather have Kamara than Zach Moss. If you can pull off that trade, I would absolutely do it. I don't know that Kamara is going to end up being Kamara of old, but I'd rather have that lottery shot for ceiling. But that's just me. To me, it's always about get your guy. Because here's the thing. I do a lot of work at researching this, but it's hard. Is Taylor going to the Browns? I mean, I don't see. The thing is, they're not going to pay Taylor. They're still going to, hopefully Chubb's, it's not like Chubb ended his career.
Yeah.
He's gone for the year. And Chubb's the guy that they're going to invest money in. Even for a playoff push, I don't think that Jonathan Taylor makes sense. Jonathan Taylor does make sense to the Packers still. You're starting to see with A.J. Dillon how that impacted that team. A.J. Dillon cannot sub in for Aaron Jones. And Ford did look good, and they're going to be fine. And honestly, I don't think they want to run the ball as much as they did, even though that offense is built around one. I think they plan on having Deshaun Watson. I will not watch that video. Like, I just feel bad that my boy got hurt, and hopefully he comes back. All right. Actually, we're moving along pretty cool. I don't mind. I was worried about some of these tangents. I'm not going to. I don't want to see guys get hurt. I didn't want to. Like, that hurt me. Like, that Chubb hurt me in my heart and in my pocketbook because I had his rushing over, and he was like 15 yards away before he had that injury. Like, he was well on pace to kill him. I hope he comes back okay. Excuse me. So I'm talking about Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims, waiver wire wide receiver. I love investing in young guys. My draft strategy, I don't take guys who are 5th year, 6th year, 7-year guys unless they have shown a history of being successful at fantasy football and regular football, because that doesn't really help. Now, those guys, guys who are you'll see people talk to you about Devontae Parker. This is the first year no one's tried to convince me Devontae Parker's a thing. That man, through 7 seasons, had 1,000-yard season. There's a certain point where if you don't have multiple 1,000-yard seasons, you're not going to get them. That's just how it works, because they're going to invest in younger guys. Now, Marvin Mims is the first draft pick that Sean Payton made in Denver. And in week 2, he only had 2 catches, but they were for 113 yards and a touchdown. And Marvin Mims is fast. He looks good. With Jerry Jeudy there, too, I think he's going to get better looks because he was gone in week 1. We know that Russ likes to throw it down the field. He wants to take those shots. So I think Marvin Mims could be a really interesting player. Sean Payton's got a history of finding good receivers. Brandon Cooks, Michael Thomas, those guys were really, really good wide receivers when they were young and in their prime. And Marvin Mims might be that next guy, so he's the guy I really like. He's going to be a big play guy. But the one that really, this is a guy I did not believe in. I did not really care for him that much coming out of college. But the week 2 tape for Tank Dell looked good. And with Noah Brown on injured reserve, and as we just mentioned, C.J. Stroud throwing the ball at the 3rd highest rate of any quarterback in football. And C.J. Stroud looks real good. And all those people who are shitting on C.J. Stroud during the draft process, I feel really good about that. I was worried about him going to Houston because Houston feels like the Bears, just a place where quarterbacks go to die. But right now, C.J. Stroud, he is slinging it, and he looks good doing it. I mentioned earlier, if you guys didn't catch it, Nico Collins, for some reason, is available in 35% of leagues. That's not enough to make the cut for my waiver wire article. But if Nico Collins is available in your league, grab him. That guy is going to be a monster. He looks so good. But Tank Dell was the number 2 guy. He had 10 targets. He had 10 targets in week 2. That's 7 catches, 72 yards, 1 touchdown.
Hey.
I think it's going to be.
Yeah, we take those.
I mean, it depends. It depends who you're getting for Nico Collins. I don't mind trading Nico if I'm getting something really nice back, but I do like Nico right now. If I had someone else I could trade, I would rather do that. So what are you talking about? Spears? Oh, he's going. Oh, is Jonathan Taylor going to the Browns? That's confirmed? When did that happen?
Hold on, I'll look it up.
I'm looking this up right now. I see a lot of speculative articles about that. Oh, how dare you lie to me, Captain Crunch? You are a monster. No, well, if you'd gotten here early enough, you would know that my top 3 running backs to look at. First off, Kyren Williams available in 53% of leagues. I'm going to reemphasize that again.
Is 50 is 47% of leagues just taking a nap?
I mean, I don't. That doesn't make sense to me at all. He is the RB2. Just check to see if Kyren Williams is on your waiver wire. If he is, grab him. I actually got Mostert in a couple of leagues. He's a top 5 running back right now too. I don't know that I think it's going to last, but football's weird. Sometimes. Yeah, well, your league in the 16-team league, he should have been gone on draft day, but you double check that anyway. I'm just telling everyone else because I feel like it needs to be emphasized. The other 2 top guys that I said is Jalen Warren rostered in only 38% of leagues. If he's available, he's a guy. And Jerome Ford. Those are the top 3 running backs I'm targeting. Matt Breida's just kind of in the blob of waiver wire running backs. Yeah, he's going to have a couple of weeks where he gets carries, but he's not good. And, like, I'm never, if I start him, I'm never going to feel good about it. And I kind of, like, I want to at least feel a little bit of excitement for a guy I starts. And the waiver wire article should be posting real soon. In fact, let's see if it's posted now. I'm hoping that, no, not quite yet, but it'll get there. Let's see here.
Well, the interesting thing, like, I'm with you, Waleed, because even though I lost in the league that I care about the most, like, I looked at my bench and I'm like, wow, I got all the guys. I just got to make sure that they're the ones playing. Like,
yeah, and you got to hope that they can keep staying the guys, because that's the thing about football. It'll get weird, which is why I say if I see Raheem Mostert on a waiver wire, which he is on like 2 of my leagues, I'll just grab him. I mean, here's the thing. What I was talking about, historically, Mike Tomlin, his running backs will get 20-plus touches on a per-game basis more than any coach in football. Through 2 weeks of the season, Tomlin is not doing what he used to. It's a timeshare. It's a split. You know what, Cal? I don't think you're crazy, because I've had the exact same thought. Pierre Strong feels like a guy. I loved when the Patriots drafted him because he is that receiving back. But the problem is Ramondre Stevenson covers that role just as well. So I get why they traded him. But I mean, Pierre Strong as a 3rd down back could be really interesting. The thing is, I don't think I'm not burning a waiver on him yet, because he's going to clear waivers. I don't think enough people know who Pierre Strong is to get him. But Pierre Strong is a really interesting player. And I'm not quite ready to, like... The thing is, I think there are other shares that I trust a little bit more, which is why I'll use my waivers on that. But he's the guy I'm going to be eyeballing. And if I have a free bench spot, I'm going to stash him in a couple of leagues just to see what happens, because I think he could be a sneaky value. But I'm not making that move now, but I have Pierre Strong flagged. I mean, yeah, that's what it is. Teams are like, Tomlin feels like the last holdover for the running back committee. Hell, even Atlanta has a running back committee. But the thing is, they run the ball so much that their running back committee just has 2 RB1s. Oh, we were saying that too. Tyler Algier is going to be the most hated player in fantasy football because of all the vulturing he's going to do to Bijan Robinson.
It's either him or David Montgomery. Like, Jameer get like.
Yeah, I mean, Pierre Strong. He's a guy, especially in a PPR league. That's where his value is really going to come, because you're going to see a bunch of catches to him. All right, so we only got waiver wire tight ends to cover right now, and as always, I don't give a shit about tight ends. Tight ends suck. You don't need tight ends. Jeff says that you can cut Kyle Pitts. It's too early to cut Kyle Pitts. He's wrong. I get that Kyle Pitts has kind of sucked the last 2 weeks, but he's also faced 2 really tough pass defenses.
And also the tight end position is desolate, so
being better than Deion Jackson does not say anything. Deion Jackson looks terrible. He also mentioned cutting Tyler Higbee. These are guys that you drafted and you might think about cutting. It's a little bit too early to cut these 2 guys, and the reason is because your options aren't much better. Tyler Higbee might get a better matchup. He's had he had to play the 49ers this week. The 49ers are a really good defense. Kyle Pitts had his own problems. The Packers' pass defense last year was one of the best in football, and through 2 weeks of the season, they still look like that. Yeah, I think Bateman's cuttable. Quentin Johnson, here's what I'll say. Quentin Johnson, you can cut him, but also remember, you drafted Quentin Johnson. To be a guy who comes on later in the season. You can cut him, and I think you'll still be able to pick him up a little bit later, but it's going to be a little bit riskier. If you need help now, also don't take Adam Thielen. That Carolina team is going to be an absolute mess, and Thielen is old and bad, and yeah, he's going to get peppered with targets, but I'd rather have Tank Dell. I want young guys because they have upside. Quentin Johnson. The minute Mike Williams or Keenan Allen get hurt, Quentin Johnson could become a monster. Bateman is droppable. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If Allen or Mike, like I still have shares of Quentin Johnson, and there's a couple of leagues where if I had to cut someone, and when I had two rookie receivers, like I have one with Jackson Smith and Jigba and Quentin Johnson, and I'm like, I'm gonna only hold one rookie receiver. I had two because I drafted that way, but like generally, I kind of want a rookie receiver and a rookie running back on my bench, and I don't plan on churning them. The other spots I don't mind churning, but like I got rid of Quentin Johnson because I like Jackson Jigba better. His tape in college was better. That guy has the fastest first step I've ever seen. Quentin Johnson has the potential to be a monster in a high-scoring offense, but it's going to be a bit before it comes to fruition. So if you don't mind taking the chance, yeah, you can cut him. But make sure you're keeping an eye on him, and the minute something happens, just be ready to grab him back. Jahan Dotson, not Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson is still Jahan Dotson. The problem is the Washington Commanders are also still the Washington Commanders, which is frustrating, and I haven't had a chance to watch the Washington game yet.
Can we all applaud, Waleed, that Drake London decided to show up this week?
Look, Drake London is my boy. Thank God.
Yeah.
That
would have been a really sad week too.
That goose egg hurt my heart. But it was like you only tried to throw the ball like 20 times.
That scared me. That scared me.
I think between Mims and Dell, it's kind of a pick your guy. Which guy do you think is in the best opportunity to be successful?
I honestly think it's Dell. Not because I don't trust Mims, but I don't trust the cookout. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what? But here's the thing. I trust Sean Payton to turn things around in Denver a lot more than I trust Houston to show themselves as a competent organization. But I will say that C.J. Stroud looks really good for 2 weeks. So that's one of those where I'm like, which guy in your heart of hearts do you think is going to be the guy, and just get him? Because I would rather be wrong guessing on my guy than having someone tell me something that goes against what I feel, and then that. Like, I will say that Shane from the Discord loves Marvin Mims, and he was banging that Marvin Mims drum. And I will say a lot of the things that Shane was saying this offseason, like, he did his research, and he looks like he knew what the hell he was doing. So that, like, because Marvin Mims was a guy, he was fine on tape, but I didn't love him the way Shane did. And, like, now that I'm looking at that, I'm like, I see what he's seeing. So, like, my thing is when I was watching Marvin Mims, I think, did Mims go to North Carolina? I feel like he did. Like, I found myself just watching, let me see, because I want to see. Did he go to North Carolina? Oh, no, he went to Oklahoma. Who was the North Carolina guy? It was Josh Downs. Yeah, everyone kept talking to me about Josh Downs, and I'm like, honestly, the guy I'm watching is Drake May, the quarterback, which I might need to because the Bears are going to be in a position to draft him.
Oh, boy.
Because I don't get to have nice things in my life.
How are
the
they going to...
Bears are rooting Justin Fields. Why? I will never back down on Justin Fields being good. Like, I've committed too much to it.
I don't know. I think the apathy got to him. The
Bears broke him. Like, the best quarterback prospect in my life. 2 designed runs in 2 games this year. Like, did you not learn your lesson after the halftime last year? Like, oh my God. Luke Getsy needs to be fired. Oh. So, tight ends, those were the cut lists. The only waiver wire, like, I'm going to bring up last week on the waiver wire thing I mentioned Hunter Henry as a tight end that you could look at. And I told you I would not burn a waiver on him. And he still finishes a tight end 2 this week. And I still won't burn a waiver on him. And the reason is because his 2 matchups were so good against the tight end. Like, last year, they were top 3 matchups against tight ends, and this year, it's more of the same. So I don't believe Hunter Henry's going to continue to do what he does. Having said that, if you need a tight end and you believe in Hunter Henry, go ahead and grab him. But, like, I hate tight ends. Tight ends are dumb. That's why I got Mark Andrews in 75% of my leagues, Hawkinson in a couple, because I don't want to think about it. I just want guys who are actually good. And I think that might be the waiver wire show. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Win the game. Oh, well, Deku, I am very glad. Oh, what, you changed your name from Captain Grunts Deku? I prefer you as the captain, Captain.
He's been court-martialed.
Oh, I'm glad that I helped one of your opponents beat you. I love that we got our British contingent here too. I thought it was Deku with the CKU though. Now I'm wondering if you're some imposter Deku. Are you even a captain? Are you an admiral instead?
Oh man.
Okay. So that is the week 3 waiver wire show, guys. I got to get ready for work. Thank you very much for joining us. Please join us for Thursday night First on Thursday, where we do our sidecast with the for the Thursday night game, and then we talk about how bad Thursday night football games are. It's gonna get real bad. The Giants against the 49ers. We might see Daniel Jones die on the field. Vinny, we got all the Brits. And Gambletown, yeah. On Saturday we got going to Gambletown. I hit a parlay, and Josh says that parlays are dumb, but the parlay, want to know as a Bears fan how I hit my parlay. I had a 4-leg parlay, the Godwin receiving over, Justin Fields passing over, Baker Mayfield passing over, and the over on total points. And I won on Justin Fields' pick 6. I made $50 in the most sickening way possible. It was just I won money. But I didn't want to give that
money.
This.
You have to give that money away to charity, or whatever you buy with it's gonna be cursed.
No, that money goes to me. I had to watch that game. I deserve to get something.
Oh, are you charity? Are you charity?
Yeah, that's my charity. No, parlays are dumb. Parlays are dumb, but you should still do them. I make a point of only doing 90% of my bankroll.
I don't know, Waleed. I think Justin Fields might be the best quarterback I've seen throw 80-mile-an-hour footballs at his receivers' ankles.
He's not throwing it at their ankles. I mean, that's just factually not true. They're just running dumb routes. You know what? You guys are getting me mad before I go to work. I don't like it. I'm leaving. Goodbye. See us for Campbelltown on Saturday, and also we got our Sit Start show on Sunday morning before the game starts, so you know who the inactives are and how to best maximize your lineup with Jeff Crisco and Evan Hugler. Thank you guys very much for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye, guys.